The morning fog clung to the Pacific coastline like a damp curtain as Ava Harper stepped onto the grounds of the SEAL training facility in Coronado, California. Her boots sank slightly into the sand, leaving neat, measured prints behind her. Around her, the familiar chaos of a Navy SEAL gym unfolded, trainees pushing themselves past exhaustion, instructors shouting, the clang of metal, the sharp bark of commands. But Ava walked through it as though in a world of her own, her calm, measured pace setting her apart from the frenzy. She was tall, athletic, but not ostentatiously muscular. Her power lay in efficiency, in every motion honed to precision. Her hair, tied back neatly, hid the faint curve of a neck tattoo that would later unravel her secret. Her green eyes, cold and perceptive, scanned the gym. She noticed the worn grips of the climbing ropes, the angles of the pull-up bars, the patterns in which trainees ran laps around the compound. Most people would ignore these details, but Ava cataloged everything instinctively, mentally mapping every inch of the facility. The SEALs around her noticed her but didn't dare approach. She was new, yet there was an aura of quiet authority about her, a confidence that demanded recognition without a word. "Who is she?" One trainee muttered under his breath, eyes flicking toward her as she adjusted her gloves and began a series of push-ups with flawless form. Others nodded in agreement, exchanging cautious glances. No one spoke directly to her. There was an unspoken understanding that Ava Harper was not someone to be trifled with. Marcus Reynolds, a senior chief with decades of combat experience, noticed her immediately. He had seen hundreds of trainees come and go, some gifted, some talented, some unstoppable, but Ava's efficiency was different. It was not brute strength that set her apart. It was rhythm, timing, anticipation. She moved like a predator in her element, each action purposeful, fluid, and economical. He had learned to recognize talent when it was hidden, and hidden talent like this was rare, dangerous even. Ava moved next to the ropes. While others scrambled and swung awkwardly, she ascended with feline grace, using her legs and arms in perfect synchrony. A few trainees tried to keep pace but failed, their movements jerky and desperate. Ava reached the top, paused for a split second, then dropped silently, rolling on the mat beneath to absorb the impact, hardly bending a knee. She barely breathed. The room went still for a moment as the trainees watched her. Some whispered that she must have military experience, but of what kind they couldn't guess. She ignored them all, moving on to the climbing wall. Each handhold and foothold was used precisely, each movement was calculated. While others struggled with fatigue, Ava seemed to grow stronger with effort. Sweat ran down her brow, yet she maintained composure. Her breathing remained steady, her focus unwavering. Instructors noticed, nodding subtly to one another. Something about her presence suggested she had faced real danger, that she had been tested far beyond these walls. The whispers grew. She's not just a trainee, she's something else. After the climbing wall, she approached the sparring mats. Two trainees stepped up, challenging her with bravado. Ava didn't flinch. She let them strike first, analyzing every movement, every rhythm. Within seconds, she deflected attacks with fluid precision, using leverage and anticipation rather than brute force. The trainees staggered, stunned by how easily she moved. When she countered, it was clean, almost surgical, disarming without injuring. Marcus stepped closer, sensing that this was a rare moment. Watching someone who could operate like a weapon, controlled, trained, lethal, yet calm. During the sparring, her hair shifted slightly, revealing the faint curve of a tattoo on the back of her neck. Marcus's eyes narrowed instantly. He recognized the mark before anyone else could, an insignia linked to one of the Navy's most secretive and elite covert units, a symbol few outside classified circles could identify. The tattoo alone was enough to make him reconsider everything he thought he knew about this woman. Who was she? What was she doing here? The questions formed but remained unspoken. After the session, she moved toward the weight racks. Each lift, each press was executed with perfect form, every repetition controlled. Even the most seasoned trainees could not match her efficiency. By the end of the hour, she had completed a regimen that would leave most men exhausted, yet she barely broke a sweat. The trainees were silent, watching her, a mixture of awe and intimidation in their eyes. Marcus stepped closer as she wiped her hands on a towel. "You're efficient," he said, voice steady but cautious. "Where did you train before this?" Ava's lips curled in a faint smile. "Everywhere," she said simply, brushing past him without revealing more. The ambiguity only deepened the mystery. The day ended, but the tension lingered. Ava Harper had walked into the SEAL gym as a newcomer, yet by the hour's end, she had transformed the atmosphere. Trainees whispered, instructors glanced knowingly, and Marcus remained troubled. There was more to this woman than anyone could understand. Her calm, precise movements, her unwavering focus, and the faint tattoo peeking from beneath her hairline suggested a past filled with shadows and danger. As the sun set over the Pacific, Ava stretched quietly on the mats, watching the others leave. She felt no pride, no ego. She was merely preparing. The gym was not a battlefield yet, but one day it might become one, and she would be ready. Shadows followed her as she moved, unnoticed but present, a harbinger of what was to come. In the quiet of the fatting day, only one thing was certain. Ava Harper was no ordinary trainee. And by the time the world discovered her true identity, everything would change. The next morning, the gym hummed with the familiar rhythm of rigorous drills, shouting instructors, and the metallic clang of training equipment. Trainees groaned through obstacle courses, their muscles screaming in protest, yet Ava Harper moved with effortless precision. Every obstacle, every rope, every wall was a challenge she met not with struggle but with mastery. She didn't rush. Her movements were deliberate, controlled, almost poetic in their efficiency. Marcus Reynolds, watching from the sidelines, couldn't take his eyes off her. He had trained elite operatives before, but there was something in Ava that transcended even his experience. She began the morning session on the obstacle course, timing herself silently. Trainees struggled to match her pace. A man twice her size flailed on the rope climb, sweat dripping, hands trembling. Ava's climb was smooth, almost silent, legs pushing, arms pulling, momentum perfectly balanced. At the top, she paused briefly, surveying the room, then dropped with a controlled roll, barely bending her knees. The other trainees stared, mouths open, some muttering, "What the hell?" Her training wasn't just physical, it was analytical. As she navigated the course, she observed patterns. She noticed the fatigue of others, their hesitation at certain obstacles, the tiny flaws in their form. She cataloged everything silently, adjusting her pace to perfection, never wasting energy, always efficient. Marcus noted the rhythm of her movement. It was not natural, yet not mechanical. It was the rhythm of someone trained under fire, someone who had lived and survived where mistakes meant death. After the course, Ava moved to marksmanship drills. The gun felt like an extension of her body. Every shot she fired hit its mark with absolute consistency. Her breathing was steady, almost meditative. Trainees watched in awe as she moved from target to target with calm precision. Whispers circulated. "She's seen combat before. No one this good starts here." Another trainee scoffed, but his mockery faltered when she demonstrated a rapid reload with fluid ease, a motion he had only seen in instructional videos, never executed with such natural perfection. Then came hand-to-hand combat drills. Two trainees stepped up, smirks on their faces, assuming she would falter. Ava didn't flinch. She let the first strike come, dodging with subtle shifts of her weight. Each counter was economical, precise, leaving no room for error. Within moments, both men were disarmed, leaning back in disbelief. She didn't gloat, she simply returned to her stance, calm, eyes sharp, waiting silently. The room felt heavier, tension rising. Even Marcus took a step closer, his instincts warning him that she was extraordinary, dangerous in a way few could understand. It was during one of these sparring sequences that a flash of her hair revealed the faint curve of a tattoo on the back of her neck. Marcus froze. The symbol was unmistakable, a coiled serpent entwined with a dagger. Only members of the Navy's Phantom unit bore it, and the very few who knew of it were sworn to secrecy. His mind raced. Who was this woman? Why was she here under the guise of a regular trainee? The revelation sparked a dangerous curiosity within him. This wasn't just skill. This was classified, elite-level lethality walking unnoticed among them. The trainees noticed the moment too, though few recognized its significance. Murmurs rose like a tide. What unit is that? She's not just a trainee, she's something else. Some felt intimidated, some excited, and others fearful. Ava, however, ignored the attention entirely, her focus fixed on drills, on precision, on mastery. Her eyes caught every minor detail. The slight imbalance in a trainee's stance, the faintest hesitation in a maneuver, the way one instructor shifted his weight before shouting a command. She cataloged it all silently, her mind operating as efficiently as her body. Marcus decided to confront her after the drills. He approached cautiously, nodding her posture and rhythm. "Lieutenant Harper," he began, using the name she had been registered under, "where did you train before this?" Ava's lips curved into the faintest smile, enigmatic, unreadable. "Everywhere," she said softly, brushing past him without breaking stride. The ambiguity gnawed at him. Something in her tone, the calm authority behind it, suggested she had been somewhere far more dangerous than this gym. Somewhere no one here could survive unscathed. Marcus realized that she could teach them more than any drill manual or classroom lecture could ever provide. After the confrontation, Ava moved to the weight racks. Every lift, every press was executed flawlessly, each repetition balanced, controlled, powerful without wasted effort. Trainees struggled to match her stamina. Sweat streamed down their faces, muscles quivering, yet Ava maintained her rhythm, unshaken. Marcus observed quietly, feeling a mix of admiration and unease. He had trained SEALs for decades, yet he had never seen someone so physically capable while remaining so calm under scrutiny. Then came the final test, a mock combat simulation. Ava paired herself with the most experienced trainee, a man who prided himself on brute strength. As he lunged, she sidestepped with a subtle shift of weight, tripping him with a move so minimal it looked accidental. Within seconds he was pinned, unable to continue, his confidence shattered. The other trainees watched, jaws slack, understanding at last that she was operating on a level far beyond anything they had seen. By the end of the morning, whispers had turned into quiet discussions among trainees, speculation growing into awe. Ava Harper had arrived as an unassuming new recruit, but she left a profound mark, a mixture of fear, respect, and curiosity. Marcus, standing in silence, realized the truth. Her presence was a challenge and a lesson all at once. She was efficient, calculated, and far too experienced to be just a trainee. As Ava collected her gear and walked toward the exit, Marcus caught her gaze briefly. There was a calm in her eyes, but also a shadow of something deeper, experience, danger, secrets. The faint curve of her tattoo peeked beneath her hairline, a silent warning of what she truly was. The gym had glimpsed only the surface of her abilities. Shadows followed her in silence as she left the room, but Marcus knew this was only the beginning. Ava Harper had arrived. The SEAL gym would never be the same. By mid-morning, the intensity in the SEAL gym had escalated. Trainees were drenched in sweat, muscles trembling from repeated drills, yet Ava Harper remained fluid and unflinching, moving through every obstacle as if the facility were merely a playground. The faint curve of the tattoo on her neck, usually hidden beneath her hair, caught Marcus Reynolds' attention again. That symbol, a coiled serpent entwined around a dagger, was far more than a tattoo. It was a warning. Only the Navy's Phantom unit bore such insignia, an elite, covert force known for missions so classified that even many SEALs believed them to be myth. Marcus's pulse quickened as he considered the implications. Here was a woman in the midst of a standard SEAL gym session, yet her presence radiated authority and lethality. Every move she made, hand-to-hand combat, obstacle navigation, marksmanship, spoke of experience beyond what any training manual could offer. Her precision was unnerving, her timing was impeccable. Marcus had witnessed exceptional talent before, but Ava's combination of skill, composure, and mystery was unprecedented. He realized that this was not a simple recruit. This was a weapon disguised as a trainee, a shadow walking among them unnoticed. During a live-fire exercise, the significance of her tattoo became more apparent. One of the younger trainees, distracted by exhaustion, misjudged a drill and nearly tripped over a simulated explosive. Ava reacted instantly, moving with lightning speed to intercept him, her body curling to absorb the impact, then pivoting to neutralize the simulated threat with expert precision. The other trainees froze, staring in awe. Marcus noted how her actions mirrored tactics that only elite operatives on real-world missions could execute. There was no hesitation, no panic, only calculated, efficient responses. Whispers spread across the gym. "Who is she?" some asked under their breath. "Where did she train?" Another trainee shook his head in disbelief. "No one starts here that good," he muttered. Ava ignored them all, focusing entirely on the drills, her eyes constantly scanning, observing every detail. Every motion of the trainees, every minor lapse, every breath, they were all data she cataloged silently. Marcus, meanwhile, could no longer ignore the realization forming in his mind. The woman they all assumed to be a new recruit was operating at a level reserved for legends, operatives whose existence was barely acknowledged outside the most classified circles. Later, Marcus approached Ava quietly during a break. The gym buzzed around them, trainers shouting instructions, metal clanging, bodies moving through grueling exercises. "Lieutenant Harper," he began, using the official registration name she had provided, "what unit did you train with before this?" His tone was careful, measured. He had to know, but he also needed to gauge how much she was willing to reveal. Ava looked up slowly, green eyes calm yet piercing. For a moment she said nothing, letting the noise of the gym envelop them. Then she offered a slight, enigmatic smile. "Everywhere," she said softly. The word carried no boast, no explanation, just a subtle acknowledgement that she had been beyond these walls in places most could not imagine. Marcus knew better than to press. Sometimes, silence revealed more than words ever could. Even as she returned to the obstacle course, the tension lingered. The trainees were unsettled, unsure how to approach her, yet drawn by her skill. Ava's calmness, combined with the faint flash of the tattoo, created a mystique that dominated the room. Some stared openly, unable to contain their curiosity. Others whispered, fearing the unknown power she represented. A few quietly speculated that she might be part of some covert program, an operative sent for reasons unknown. But no one dared confront her directly. In the hours that followed, Ava demonstrated more of her unique capabilities. During a tactical movement drill, she silently observed a group attempting a simulated infiltration. She noticed patterns others missed, the slightest shift in posture, a hesitation in a hand movement, the way their eyes scanned the room. With subtle precision, she corrected their approach, guiding them toward efficiency without overtly speaking. Marcus recognized the methodology. This was the training of someone who had survived real missions, where every split-second decision meant life or death. Later, as she practiced hand-to-hand combat with a particularly aggressive trainee, her movements were so precise, so fluid, that the man could not predict or counter a single strike. Within moments, he was pinned, gasping, staring at her in disbelief. The other trainees watched silently, no one daring to challenge her next. Marcus noted the growing unease. These men were some of the best, yet they were dwarfed by her skill. Then came the final moment of revelation for Part 3. During a moment of transition between drills, a trainee's glove slipped, brushing against her hair and exposing the neck tattoo fully. Marcus leaned forward, eyes narrowing. This was no ordinary symbol. This was the mark of an elite Phantom Unit operative, one whose missions were classified even from most SEALs. The room seemed to pause, the air thick with tension. Trainees whispered, eyes wide. Yet Ava remained calm, serene, almost indifferent to the effect she had on everyone. Marcus's mind raced. He realized the truth. Ava Harper was no ordinary recruit. She had survived environments, missions, and threats that would have broken most operatives. Her composure, efficiency, and deadly skill were only hints of a hidden life, one that remained mostly unknown even to the U.S. Navy itself. The tattoo was more than ink. It was a warning, a symbol of the danger and skill concealed behind her calm exterior. As the gym session ended, Ava collected her gear, moving with silent grace. Trainees and instructors alike stole glances, uncertain how to respond, yet aware they had witnessed something extraordinary. Marcus followed briefly, still absorbing the implications. The woman in front of him was efficient, calculated, and lethal. Shadows seemed to cling to her as she walked, hinting at the unseen battles she had faced and the secrets she carried. By the end of the day, murmurs circulated through the facility. Who was she? Where had she been? What unit did she truly belong to? Ava Harper had entered as a quiet trainee, yet she left a profound impression, a living shadow, a legend in motion, and a harbinger of events yet to come. Marcus knew one thing with certainty: this was only the beginning. The sun had climbed higher over the Coronado coastline, casting sharp shadows across the SEAL gym. The trainees moved through their exercises, muscles burning, yet Ava Harper remained a model of calm precision. She navigated the obstacle course, ran tactical simulations, and executed hand-to-hand combat drills as if the hours of sweat and exhaustion surrounding her did not exist. To the other trainees, she was nearly untouchable, a ghostly presence that no one could match. But inside her mind, the calm exterior belied a storm of memories, missions that had left invisible scars, battles fought in shadows, and lives balanced on the edge of death. She remembered narrow alleys in foreign cities, night raids in hostile territories, and the weight of responsibility that had forced her to move silently, invisibly, through the chaos of war. Every mission had required precision, patience, and the discipline to act when hesitation could mean failure or death. These memories came unbidden as she climbed another rope, muscles taut, fingers gripping the coarse fibers instinctively. Her past wasn't something she shared. Even Marcus Reynolds, who had begun to suspect her true nature, knew only fragments. Ava had learned to keep her history hidden, a requirement of the Phantom unit she once commanded. These were missions so classified that even mentioning them could compromise lives. The weight of secrecy pressed on her like armor. She had learned early that trust was a luxury and exposure was fatal. She moved among the trainees, teaching indirectly, correcting posture or timing without revealing the depths of her experience. During a tactical movement drill, her instincts flared. A trainee misjudged an approach, hesitating mid-run, a minor error in appearance but potentially dangerous in execution. Ava adjusted silently, guiding him with subtle gestures, her hand brushing his shoulder just long enough to correct the motion. The trainee barely registered it, yet the improvement was immediate. Marcus watched closely, impressed, realizing she was operating as both teacher and operative. Every motion was deliberate, every decision calculated, reflecting years of training in environments where a single mistake could end a mission. Later, Ryan Cole, a young and ambitious trainee with sharp instincts and unwavering loyalty, began to notice Ava more closely. Unlike the others, he wasn't intimidated. Instead, he watched her with curiosity, sensing the layers beneath her calm. He observed the way her eyes shifted during exercises, how she measured risk, how she anticipated outcomes. There was wisdom there, earned in environments no trainee could imagine. He wanted to know more, but Ava remained unreadable, her slight smiles fleeting and enigmatic. The gym's atmosphere shifted subtly as whispers circulated among trainees about Ava's origins. Some speculated about elite programs, others about covert operations. Fear, awe, and fascination mingled, but no one dared challenge her directly. Ava's silence amplified the tension. She never confirmed, never denied. She simply trained, moving from drill to drill with the grace and efficiency of someone who had survived the impossible. Amidst the physical training, a government liaison appeared unexpectedly at the gym. He arrived with urgent messages, seeking Ava for an immediate assignment, a mission of high-level urgency. His tone was formal, unyielding, but Ava's calm remained unbroken. She declined, citing the importance of her current presence in training. Her reasons were deliberate. She needed to observe, to assess, and to remain embedded for the time being. The liaison's eyes narrowed, recognizing that Ava operated by her own rules and that any coercion would be futile. As the day continued, Ava moved through the gym with quiet precision, correcting minor mistakes among trainees, observing patterns and anticipating outcomes. Marcus remained close, torn between fascination and concern. He understood that her experience exceeded anything he had ever trained. And yet, there was a danger in her presence. Her past, full of ghosts and classified operations, could compromise the facility or draw attention from those who sought her for reasons unknown. By afternoon, a small group of trainees had gathered to watch her perform a high-intensity endurance drill. Ava moved through it flawlessly, muscles coordinating perfectly, breath steady, mind calculating every motion. Her efficiency created a strange tension among the onlookers. They were drawn to her skill, yet wary of the intensity that radiated from her. Marcus felt it too, the aura of someone who had faced death countless times and emerged sharper, faster, and more lethal. As the sun began to lower, casting long shadows across the gym, Ava paused briefly on a mat, stretching. Her gaze drifted toward the horizon, green eyes distant, reflective. Memories of missions past flickered, extractions under fire, operatives lost in foreign lands, the constant shadow of danger that had shaped her into a silent weapon. Every scar, every triumph, every loss contributed to the calm efficiency she displayed today. She was more than a trainee. She was a survivor, a shadow shaped by experiences that few could imagine. Marcus approached once more, cautious but compelled. "Lieutenant Harper," he said quietly, "I need to understand who you are. You move like someone who's been in real combat." Ava turned slightly, letting the hint of a smile touch her lips. "Combat teaches lessons no drill ever can," she said softly, enigmatic yet truthful. Her eyes met his briefly, unwavering, revealing nothing but experience and intent. Marcus recognized the wisdom in her words and the warning. She had faced threats that the world would never know, and the calm in her gaze reflected every decision, every risk, every life weighed and measured in the shadows. The day ended with trainees leaving the gym, exhausted, bruised, inspired. Ava lingered, methodically cleaning and resetting equipment, her movements precise, almost ritualistic. Shadows clung to her in the fading light, emphasizing the aura she carried, a presence that hinted at experience, danger, and secrecy. Marcus watched her disappear into the hallway, the weight of understanding settling on his shoulders. Ava Harper was no ordinary recruit. Her calm exterior concealed decades of covert missions, trauma, and survival skills that would shape the events yet to come. By the time night fell, the gym was quiet. Ava sat alone, reviewing her movements, cataloging observations, and preparing for what was coming. The ghosts of her past were never far away. They whispered reminders of threats and sacrifices, shaping her decisions even in this controlled environment. She was efficient, lethal, and unyielding. And though no one could see it yet, the shadow of her past would soon intersect with the lives of everyone in the facility, testing them in ways they could never anticipate. The following morning, the SEAL gym hummed with energy, but beneath the routine, an uneasy tension simmered. Ava Harper moved through the facility as usual, precise, observant, unshaken. Yet her instincts, honed through years of covert missions, detected subtle anomalies. Equipment that should have been secured shifted slightly. Security cameras flickered, then reset. A trainee paused mid-drill, glancing nervously at a locker that had been untouched earlier. Ava's green eyes scanned the room, unblinking, calculating. Something was wrong. Someone had infiltrated the training operations, and they weren't here to play games. She began observing quietly, cataloging each trainee's behavior, nodding subtle gestures. A glance toward an unmonitored corner, a hand lingering near a control panel, movements that were slightly off rhythm. Her experience told her that one of the people around her was working against the facility. The thought sharpened her focus. In Phantom Unit missions, betrayal could mean death. Here, it could compromise the entire gym, jeopardizing the training of the next generation of SEALs, and perhaps even expose classified operations. Marcus Reynolds, already uneasy about her past, watched her closely. He had noticed Ava's vigilance and the way she moved with quiet authority, silently correcting mistakes and observing patterns others couldn't see. He had begun to respect her more with every passing day, though unease lingered. Her calmness hid dangerous knowledge, skills, and experience far beyond the comprehension of ordinary trainees. Yet even Marcus could not match her subtle detection of threats. She was several steps ahead, reading the room as easily as one read a map. Ava's suspicions were confirmed during a night training exercise. The lights dimmed, and trainees ran through a simulated mission, moving silently across the compound. Ava observed from a shadowed corner, noting every hesitation and every overcorrection. Then she spotted him, a man moving with too much caution, scanning the surroundings more than necessary, his body language betraying someone not following instructions but looking for something. He approached a control panel near the simulation's explosives, glancing nervously around before attempting to access it. Ava moved like a shadow. She was already behind him before he realized she was there. Her hand shot out, pinning him to the wall with a controlled force, her grip unyielding. "Stop," she whispered almost silently. His eyes widened, panic flooding his face. "Who, what?" "Quiet," she said, her voice calm, sharp, unshakable. "I know what you're doing." The trainee froze, realizing he was exposed. Ava's presence radiated authority. There was no escape. Without hesitation, she disarmed him, taking his tools and subtly neutralizing the threat without alerting others. Marcus, observing from the shadows, was stunned. The facility had just witnessed an operative working in real time, neutralizing sabotage silently, efficiently, and without alarming the rest of the team. Afterward, Ava approached Marcus privately. She handed him the tools and briefly explained in measured terms what she had uncovered. "There's a mole," she said. "Someone feeding information to an outside entity. It's subtle but dangerous. If left unchecked, it could compromise this entire operation." Marcus nodded, tension etched into his face. He had suspected something amiss but had not been able to trace it. Ava had not only identified the threat, but had neutralized it with the efficiency of someone trained in life-and-death situations. The revelation spread quietly among the instructors, who now began to view Ava with a mixture of awe and trepidation. Even the trainees sensed the change, though they didn't understand the full implications. Ava had become more than just a trainee. They realized she was a shadow moving among them, capable of seeing and correcting problems no one else could detect. Fear and admiration blended uneasily. Marcus felt the weight of her presence. The woman who had arrived silently and unnoticed now commanded respect through action, authority, and the unseen power of her experience. Later, Ava reviewed the mole's activity, piecing together subtle anomalies, small adjustments in equipment usage, and deviations from standard procedure. She found evidence of data being extracted from training logs and simulations, information that could compromise operational security. Her mind cataloged it all, creating a mental map of potential threats, weaknesses, and solutions. Every movement, every pattern, every error became a data point she used to reinforce the facility's defenses. Ava's efficiency extended beyond physical ability. It was strategic, tactical, and psychological. She manipulated the environment subtly, ensuring the mole could not continue without detection while keeping the trainees unaware of the real danger. Marcus, watching her work, realized that Ava Harper's capabilities extended far beyond her appearance. She was a weapon, a teacher, and a sentinel, all in one. Every observation she made, every action she took, displayed a lethal grace that few could imagine. By the evening, the immediate threat had been neutralized, but Ava remained vigilant. She cleaned and reset equipment, methodically checking security measures, confirming that no additional breaches existed. Her eyes never wavered from subtle cues: a misplaced tool, a door slightly ajar, a trainee lingering too long in one spot. Even in routine tasks, her mind was calculating, assessing, preparing for the next possible threat. Marcus finally understood the full scope of her skill, not just her physical prowess but her ability to anticipate, detect, and neutralize danger before it manifested. When the day ended, Marcus found her quietly stretching in the corner, the gym nearly empty. The shadows fell around her, emphasizing the aura she carried, a presence forged by experience, danger, and secrecy. He approached carefully. "Ava, you handled that like no one I've ever seen," he said quietly. How did you know?" Ava's gaze met his, calm and unreadable. "Experience," she said simply. Her eyes hinted at missions and battles no one here could comprehend, operations that had taught her to trust instinct, anticipate danger, and act decisively. Marcus nodded slowly, realizing that she was more than a trainee, more than a mystery. She was a sentinel, operating on a level far beyond the comprehension of anyone in the gym. The trainees had left, unaware of the real danger they had narrowly avoided. Ava remained, cataloging, observing, preparing. Shadows followed her in the dim light, the faint curve of her neck tattoo visible beneath her hair, a mark of hidden power and lethal skill. The gym had been compromised, but Ava Harper had ensured it survived, and she would continue to protect it, silently, efficiently, and without recognition. By nightfall, Marcus walked away, the weight of understanding pressing down on him. Ava Harper was no ordinary trainee. She was a shadow among them, a living weapon, and her presence would shape every moment in the SEAL gym yet to come. The SEAL gym was quieter than usual that morning. The previous night's events, the sabotage and Ava's swift intervention, had rippled through the instructors and trainees like an unspoken storm. Everyone sensed a shift, though few understood it fully. Trainees whispered cautiously in corners, their curiosity mingling with awe. Marcus Reynolds, however, was determined to understand the truth. The faint curve of Ava's neck tattoo, glimpsed too often to ignore, had revealed far more than any rumors or speculation could. It was a symbol reserved for Phantom Unit operatives, legends in the shadows, operating on missions classified to nearly everyone, even within the Navy. Ava moved through the obstacle course with her usual precision, but her calm demeanor concealed a growing awareness. Her instincts told her something had changed, something that would soon force the truth into the open. She sensed eyes following her every movement, not just trainees but instructors, some hesitant, others calculating. Ryan Cole, young and perceptive, kept a respectful distance, yet his gaze never wavered. He had begun to realize that Ava was extraordinary, beyond the reach of ordinary understanding, and he wanted to learn, not challenge. During the morning's live-fire drill, one of the trainees, an ambitious man with a reputation for arrogance, mishandled his weapon, snapping a rifle too close to Ava. Panic surged through him as his shot went wide, yet Ava reacted before anyone else could. Her movements were instantaneous. She disarmed him without a single audible command, redirecting the weapon safely to the ground while using minimal force. The other trainees froze, stunned by the seamless efficiency of her actions. Marcus observed, knowing full well that such precision was not learned in any standard training facility. It was then that the incident occurred that would forever change the atmosphere of the gym. A communication device left carelessly by the visiting liaison the previous day malfunctioned and a trainee panicked, shouting a name, Ava Harper. The word echoed across the gym. Trainees stopped mid-drill. Whispers turned to stunned silence. Ava Harper, someone echoed, uncertain if they had heard correctly. All eyes turned toward her. Ava paused, adjusting her stance. She didn't panic. She didn't flee. She stood as she always had, calm, poised, in complete control. Yet the weight of that single uttered name carried consequences she could not ignore. The identity she had carefully concealed was now at the threshold of revelation. Marcus's heart pounded. The room seemed to shrink as the truth poised itself to enter the open. Ava spoke, her voice calm yet commanding, filling the room without effort. "I am Lieutenant Commander Ava Harper," she announced. The words landed with precision and the atmosphere shifted. Gasps rippled through the gym. Trainees froze, instructors straightened, and Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. This was the operative behind the Phantom Unit, the woman whose tattoo symbolized missions so secret they were nearly myth. Whispers turned to awe and disbelief. No one had anticipated that the trainee they had observed was a legendary operator in plain sight. Marcus stepped forward cautiously. Lieutenant Commander Harper, his voice carried respect, laced with the realization of the full implications. You've been here training among us, and he paused, the enormity of her presence settling in. Ava's calm gaze met his, unwavering. I am here to observe, to assess, and to train, she said simply. But my past cannot remain hidden any longer. The trainees watched in stunned silence as Ava demonstrated what it truly meant to be a Phantom Unit operative. In a simulated hostage rescue drill, she moved with uncanny precision, orchestrating every trainee as though they were parts of a larger machine. Her tactical genius became evident. She anticipated every possible variable, guided movements, corrected mistakes before they happened, and neutralized simulated threats with lethal efficiency. The exercise was flawless, leaving no doubt that Ava Harper was more than a trainer or participant. She was a legend. Ryan Cole observed, wide-eyed and inspired. He had sensed her brilliance before, but now the truth was undeniable. She was a living weapon, operating with experience and authority that dwarfed anyone in the room. Marcus, equally impressed, finally understood the magnitude of what they had been witnessing. Ava Harper's skills were not simply extraordinary, they were unmatched, and the legacy she carried was formidable. Then came the final test. A team of trainees, unaware of the simulation's adjustments, attempted a mock infiltration. Ava's movements were swift, fluid, and silent. She corrected errors in real time, moving among them like a shadow, her actions precise and lethal. Every trainee felt the weight of her presence, the authority, the skill, and the quiet danger that surrounded her. Even the instructors were astonished. They had trained some of the best SEALs in the world, yet none had moved like this. None had commanded the room without uttering more than a word or two. Finally, the exercise ended. Ava stepped back, allowing the trainees to recover. Silence lingered in the air. Marcus approached, finally allowing a small smile of respect to cross his face. Lieutenant Commander, he said quietly, I've trained SEALs for decades, but I've never seen anyone move like that. You're a legend. Ava nodded slightly, her calm returning as though nothing extraordinary had occurred. I only teach what I can observe, she said. Legends are measured by results, not by recognition. The room seemed to breathe again, yet the energy had shifted. The revelation of Ava's true identity had changed everything. Trainees looked at her with newfound respect and awe, understanding that they had been in the presence of someone whose skill, experience, and composure were unparalleled. Marcus realized that the gym was no longer merely a training facility. It had become a proving ground under the watch of an operative who could see threats before they existed and neutralize them effortlessly. By the end of the day, whispers of Ava's identity spread quietly but deliberately. The trainees now knew they were in the presence of someone whose past missions were classified, whose abilities were extraordinary, and whose presence commanded respect. Shadows clung to her as she collected her gear, the faint curve of her neck tattoo a subtle reminder of her lethal legacy. As the sun set over the Pacific, Ava Harper stood silently, surveying the facility she now subtly commanded. The gym had been transformed, not physically but psychologically. Every person present had witnessed the power of experience, the authority of skill, and the gravity of truth. And though her identity had been revealed, her calm, calculated presence remained, a shadow walking among them, preparing for the challenges that lay ahead. Ava Harper was no longer just a trainee. She was a legend, and the world, or at least the SEAL gym, would never see training the same way again. The night was unusually dark over the Coronado facility. A low fog rolled across the grounds, muffling sounds and casting eerie shadows over the SEAL gym. Ava Harper had already anticipated something. After the revelation of her identity, the subtle tension she had felt all day had become a pulse of warning in her chest. Phantom Unit instincts, honed over countless covert missions, told her that the mole neutralized earlier was only the beginning. Tonight, the facility would be tested, and she would be ready. Her eyes swept over the gym as she completed final checks of equipment and security systems. Trainees had been dismissed early, unaware of the looming threat. Marcus Reynolds had remained in the control room, monitoring security feeds, uneasy about the quiet tension permeating the air. Even he felt it. Something was approaching, something dangerous, and the calm before it struck was almost unbearable. Ava, however, remained poised, a living shadow in the dim light, muscles taut and mind alert. The first sign of intrusion came as a faint disturbance on the perimeter cameras, a shadow moving quickly along the east wall. Ava had expected it. She moved silently through the hallways, positioning herself near the entry point while calculating angles, distances, and potential threats. Her green eyes scanned, and her body coiled like a spring. Every muscle, every nerve was attuned to danger. She had survived ambushes in hostile territories where one misstep meant death. Tonight would be no different. The intruders were mercenaries, well-trained, armed, and precise. They had not anticipated the operative they were about to encounter. Ava observed their formation, noting their strategy, and began to neutralize them before they could reach the main facility. Shadows became her allies as she moved silently, intercepting the first wave of attackers. Her hand-to-hand combat was lethal, calculated, leaving enemies incapacitated without alerting others. Marcus watched through the camera feeds, realizing that Ava Harper was operating with a precision and skill unmatched by any ordinary human. One mercenary tried to flank her from the left. Ava anticipated the move before he acted. In one fluid motion, she disarmed him, using his momentum to redirect him into a padded wall. Another attempted a frontal assault, but she sidestepped, sweeping his legs out in perfect timing. Each movement was textbook Phantom unit, silent, efficient, deadly. The attackers, trained professionals themselves, realized too late that they were outmatched. Panic began to ripple through their ranks. Inside the gym, the remaining trainees and instructors were caught in a wave of confusion as alarms suddenly blared. Ava's voice cut through the chaos, calm but authoritative. "Get down. Move to the safe zones. Stay low and follow instructions exactly." Her commands were crisp, precise, and without hesitation. Trainees obeyed, instinctively following the rhythm of her guidance, as if they had been trained for this exact scenario, even though none had anticipated such a real threat. Marcus moved toward the main gym floor cautiously, relying on Ava's assessment. He saw her intercept another intruder, disarming him in silence and moving to cover Ryan Cole, who had frozen in shock. "Ryan, follow me," she commanded, pulling him behind a secure barrier. Her presence gave courage and yet fear simultaneously. No one doubted she could handle any threat alone, but the stakes were higher now. Real weapons, real danger, and lives on the line. The battle escalated. Ava moved through the facility like a ghost. Using ropes, exercise equipment, and walls as tools, she neutralized the mercenaries with efficiency that left no margin for error. Her eyes constantly scanned, her mind calculating angles, trajectories, and timing. Each strike was precise. Each maneuver minimized risk to the trainees while maximizing control over the situation. Marcus could barely comprehend the skill on display. Even veteran instructors were left speechless, realizing they were witnessing an operative in her prime, a living weapon forged in years of shadowed conflict. Amid the chaos, Ava noticed the leader of the mercenaries attempting to access sensitive systems in the gym. Moving silently, she intercepted him, engaging in a swift exchange that combined hand-to-hand combat with tactical disarmament. The struggle was over in moments, her movements precise, controlled, lethal. The intruder crumpled, incapacitated, and she retrieved his device, ensuring no sensitive data was compromised. Every step she took was calculated, every decision measured against potential consequences. As the last intruder fell, the gym returned to tense silence. Smoke lingered faintly from displaced equipment, alarms continued to echo softly, and trainees slowly began to regain composure. Marcus approached cautiously, all written across his face. "I've seen a lot in my career," he said quietly, "but nothing like this. You saved everyone, controlled the chaos, and neutralized the threat before it even fully formed. Ava remained calm, her breathing steady, eyes scanning the gym once more. It's not over until everything is secure, she said softly. Check all systems. There may be more attempts. Always be prepared. Her voice carried the authority of someone who had survived far worse, whose instincts had been honed in environments where hesitation meant death. Ryan Cole stepped forward, wide-eyed. Lieutenant Commander, that was incredible. How did you? Ava offered a faint smile. Experience, she said, echoing her earlier words. Her gaze returned to the shadows outside the gym, alert and aware. The facility had been tested and she had passed it with precision. But she knew threats would come again. There was always someone who underestimated the shadows, someone who would challenge them. She would be ready. By the time the sun rose over the Pacific the next morning, the SEAL gym had returned to routine, but nothing was the same. Trainees moved with newfound respect and caution. Instructors whispered about the night's events, their minds grappling with the reality that Ava Harper, the quiet, enigmatic trainee, was a phantom unit operative, a legend who had just saved lives through skill, foresight, and sheer lethal precision. Marcus realized that the facility had survived not because of systems or numbers, but because of her presence. Ava, stretching quietly in the corner of the gym, surveyed the facility with calm efficiency. Her green eyes reflected the soft light of dawn, the faint tattoo on her neck a reminder of the life she had lived in shadows. Shadows that had protected nations, eliminated threats unseen, and ensured survival in impossible situations. And now, those shadows had safeguarded the very people she had trained, preparing them unknowingly for a world far more dangerous than any exercise. The trainees and instructors had witnessed only a fraction of her abilities, yet it was enough. Whispers of her deeds spread quietly, ensuring that the legend of Ava Harper would grow, even if most would never fully understand it. The SEAL gym had been tested, battle had come to their doorstep, and one operative had turned the tide silently, efficiently, and flawlessly. Ava Harper was more than a trainer. She was a sentinel, a shadow in the light, a living weapon. And the events of that night had only confirmed one thing: anyone who underestimated her, or the shadows she commanded, would pay the price. Dawn broke over the Coronado SEAL facility, painting the horizon in gold and crimson. The fog that had lingered the night before had lifted, revealing a gym that bore no visible scars from the battle that had raged hours earlier, but the atmosphere had irrevocably changed. Trainees moved cautiously, their whispered conversations tinged with awe, speculation, and respect. Ava Harper, calm as ever, observed quietly, her green eyes scanning the facility with the precision of a sentinel. The gym was secure, yet her instincts reminded her that danger never truly vanished. It only waited. Marcus Reynolds approached her slowly, the weight of the previous night heavy on his shoulders. He had spent decades training some of the Navy's finest, but what he had witnessed with Ava Harper was unlike anything he had ever seen. "Lieutenant Commander," he said, voice low, "I've trained countless SEALs, some of the best in the world, but you're in a class of your own. That was flawless." Ava's lips curved into a faint, almost imperceptible smile. "Flawless only matters if it ensures survival," she said quietly. "Tonight was not about skill alone. It was about preparation, anticipation, and protecting lives. Everyone here survived because they trusted instinct, discipline, and yes, because I intervened when necessary." Her words were calm but carried the weight of experience that few could comprehend. Marcus nodded, realizing that her modesty belied the lethal precision she had displayed. The trainees gathered slowly, curiosity overtaking fatigue. Ryan Cole, still wide-eyed from the night's events, stepped forward hesitantly. "Lieutenant Commander Harper, you saved everyone. His voice faltered. Words failed him. He had witnessed a phantom unit operative in action, someone whose movements were calculated with deadly foresight and whose presence commanded authority without a single raised voice. Ava turned to him, her gaze softening slightly. "You all performed well under pressure. You followed instructions, stayed low, and trusted the process. That's the difference between success and failure in real operations. Her tone was instructional, almost maternal, yet beneath it lay the undercurrent of lethal experience. The trainees understood, even if only vaguely, that what they had witnessed was not a drill, not a test, but real expertise forged in shadows beyond their comprehension. Marcus cleared his throat. Ava, your true identity, your past, it's hard to fathom. Phantom unit, covert operations, missions so classified most of us only hear rumors. And yet here you are, training among us, protecting us, guiding us. He paused, searching for the right words. Why stay hidden? Why train here under the guise of a trainee? Ava's expression remained calm, almost unreadable. Because shadow work is not about recognition, it's about results. Sometimes the best way to teach is to observe. Sometimes the best protection comes from presence unseen until it matters most. I came here to see what you were capable of, to guide when necessary, and to ensure readiness. That has always been my purpose. The trainees exchanged glances. Fear had shifted to respect. Awe had transformed into understanding. They realized that Ava Harper was more than a phantom unit legend. She was a mentor, a guide, and a living reminder of the stakes inherent in their chosen path. Every move she had made, every decision she had executed, had been in preparation for moments they might never fully understand. Later, as the gym quieted, Marcus and Ava walked together through the facility, surveying the perimeter and equipment. The battle from the previous night had left no physical trace, but the psychological impact was palpable. You've changed the way everyone sees this place, Marcus said quietly. No one will ever underestimate the importance of vigilance again. Ava nodded, eyes scanning shadows as if anticipating invisible threats. The world outside these walls is far more dangerous than any drill or simulation. You train to prepare for that reality. My presence here was not to overshadow, but to guide. To remind you that efficiency, awareness, and instinct are as vital as strength and skill. She paused, her gaze drifting to the horizon. The faint curve of her tattoo caught the morning light, a silent reminder of the missions, battles, and shadows that had shaped her. The Phantom unit had forged her into a weapon, but it had also instilled in her a sense of responsibility, protection of those who could not yet face the dangers she had endured. Marcus remained silent for a moment, understanding finally dawning. Ava, you've given them more than training. You've given them confidence, perspective, and a glimpse of what true skill looks like. And you did it all while keeping them alive. Ava's smile was faint, almost imperceptible. Confidence is earned, not given. Perspective comes from experience. Survival is the sum of both. Tonight proved that even shadows can guide the light. By the afternoon, normal training had resumed, but the atmosphere had irrevocably shifted. Trainees moved with heightened awareness, instructors were subtly on edge, and whispers of awe circulated quietly. Ava Harper's presence had transformed the facility. She had revealed a truth few could grasp fully, that shadowed experience, lethal skill, and unshakable composure could protect, teach, and inspire in ways that raw power alone never could. As the day ended, Ava collected her gear and moved toward the exit. Marcus followed, watching her silhouette framed by the fading light. "Lieutenant Commander," he said softly, "the trainees, and I will never forget this. Not just what you did, but who you are." She paused briefly, green eyes meeting his. "Remember this," she said quietly. "Legends are not made by recognition. They are made by action, discipline, and the shadows in which they operate. Teach them that. Prepare them for what cannot be simulated. And always stay vigilant." With that, she stepped into the sunlight, the faint flash of her tattoo disappearing beneath her hair as she walked away, leaving a legacy of skill, mystery, and unwavering dedication. The SEAL gym had survived its greatest test, not through numbers, not through equipment, but through a single presence. A shadow among light, a sentinel among trainees, a living legend named Ava Harper. And though the facility would return to routine, the echoes of her actions, the lessons of her skill, and the awareness of what true excellence looked like would remain, etched into every trainee, every instructor and every shadow in the gym. The legend of Ava Harper would endure,